Hello everyone, this is Paula and I'm glad to be back with you today. Today's video is going to be a demo on how to do something, or a tutorial, and a pretty quick one, okay? Just going to give you directions, and then it is a flip through of my design team project, okay? But I just want to make sure you guys understand how to make it, if you would be interested. Okay, so I didn't come up with this idea by myself. I actually got the idea from Lynette at Cheaply Chic. She did a video making envelopes that are crunchy, and I wanted to do a journal that was crunchy. I'll link Lynette below. It wasn't that long ago, so you should be able to find it pretty easy. So it was a great experience doing this. I had to make some changes as to how she did it. I couldn't get the any glue stick to work, okay, to hold the papers together. To start with, you're going to need 2 deli papers. You can get these in a full box, just deli paper 12 by 12s at Amazon, okay? Right here, you need 2 of those and 2 sheets of parchment paper. Now, I just buy them this size, but that's still plenty big because we're going to cut this apart. The first thing we're going to do is wad them up. Make them all wrinkled, squeeze them really good. Do all 4 papers that way. Okay, I hope you guys are having a great afternoon. I've been very busy. Seems like everything is happening at once. Do you ever feel that way? Get my fingers under this. Okay, so we've got all 4 of these closed into a ball. Now, we're going to leave them wrinkled. Hear how crunchy that is? That's the thing I was wanting with. So you don't want to smooth it out too much. Just pull it out where, you know, you still have some wrinkled areas. Now, I did tear that a little bit, but I'm going to put that on the side that I trim. And then you're going to open up a white parchment paper. Who would have thought with all these cooking things and baking things that we would be using them for a journal, right? I'm making a journal. You can make envelopes. You can try anything. I'm also using this frosting cap and bottle. So then you bring the white one back again. Open it out. So the 2 white ones are going to be sandwiched in between the 2 brown ones, because we want the brown for our journal. Kind of a craft color. I'm sure there's other kinds of papers, but this is what she used, and I thought it was a great idea. So, at this point, she used a glue stick, and she recommended the cheapest one. That she didn't think any of them really were that great, and none of them held like she felt they should. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is put the brown ones to the side, and you would glue with your glue stick really good, and then stick them together and rub them. Well, that doesn't hold, okay? And when you start doing sewing on your sewing machine, it will slip and slide around. That was my experience, okay? So I decided, don't put the glue around the edges because you're going to stitch. But I decided that it would be better to do a light amount, okay, of glue. And I'm using Fabri-Tac. I'm sure there's other glues that will work. Now, what I recommend to you if you're going to do this is not to overkill. These are very thin lines, and anything that's piled up, I kind of flatten it out a little bit as far as the glue goes. Okay, and then we're going to lay this over. Try to match it up the best you can. Okay. So we know that's going to stay together. Now, if it stays together perfect, I don't know. Now, we haven't cut this yet. I did cut mine before gluing it, but it slid around, so I thought this might be easier. So now we're going to add on top of this one, not in the corners or sides, we're going to add a very light amount of glue. Now remember, this glue, you want to be thin, not a lot. And no big clumps, okay? And leave room to stitch around your book. Now, it doesn't take a lot to hold it in place, is what I'm saying. Okay, get the clumps out. Now, you want to keep the paper as square as you can as you're going here. It's not going to make that much difference because we're going to trim it down to the size of journal we want. Now, I'm just going to pull this to one side, line it up over here, because I'm going to trim off any that is too much, okay? Basically, all we're doing at this point is gluing, okay? Now, we're going to flip it over and do the same thing. My glue, of course, is not wanting to squeeze out easy. Ooh, I got that one a little close. Don't do what I did. I probably won't be sewing this one till it dries anyway. This is just to show you how to do it. So, yeah. Okay, now we're going to line up. Make sure everything's lined up nicely as best you can. As far as, you know, keeping it together. And then we're going to put the last piece right here. Line it up the best you can. Now, I'm going to give it a few seconds to dry. It's not going to take it long. And when I say dry, I mean like, you know, barely dry. And in the process, I'm going to take my scissors and trim. Doesn't have to be perfect right now, but kind of try to stay as straight as you can. And get rid of the excess, okay? Now, you can't see right here, but underneath you can see that this is still bigger than you want it. So I'm just trimming all the excess off, okay? And then I'm going to flip it over and trim this side. Now, when you get ready to decide that you want this to be the size you want it to be, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? You will use your trimmer. I suggest when you use your trimmer, you make sure your blade is sharp, okay? Now, there's not a perfect measurement. You can decide what size you want your book to be, or your journal to be. Now, this is really pretty big, right? This measures 10 by, that's not right, is it? Let me look again. Okay, 10 by 12. 10 by 12. Now, I think the 12 will be okay. You can end up with a 6, you know, width, which is good. But I ended up deciding that I wanted to do my book as 9 inches instead of 12. As you can see with the journal, where did I set the journal? There it is. The journal is big, okay? I did not think about digitals. I didn't think this book ended up being 10 inches tall. And it's actually 10 by 5.5. So, you know, you're probably going to have 5.5 across by the time you trim this down. Now, I gave it a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead, and what I did is I just mainly want to trim it straight right now. So I'm just barely putting, I want to make sure each paper is over the cut line, okay? You want to put your blade in the middle of the paper, because this paper is fragile until you start thickening it up. And then you go one way, then you come back and go the other way. I wouldn't try going from one end to the next, even with a sharp blade. That's just my opinion. I'm going to turn the straight side over here. And I want this, I was just saying, I want to leave it as, you know, as best I can. But I'm going to take about a 1/4 inch off this side. Whoops, I forgot and just did it. It's probably because it's a brand new. It's brand new. Let's do this other end too. We want to do both ends so we can get it the exact same size, the best we can. Okay. These make really cool envelopes. You need to watch Lynette's video. Okay, now we got to decide how tall we want this. Since we got this cut nice and straight, we're going to do, what did I say, 9 inches. That's what I ended up doing, 9 inches for my book, or my junk journal. Okay, get in the middle, come one way, go back the other, and then trash the remaining. Okay, so you want to keep this together. Be gentle with it, you know, don't separate it any more than you have to. Okay, so here we go. Now we have this 9 by, let me measure real quick. It ended up being 11 1/4 by 9. 11 1/4 by 9. So I don't want to fold it or anything at this point because I want everything to stay straight. So I got some tea stained muslin. I'm not going to worry about ironing it. I want to put the most wrinkled side on the right side so that it will make a good wrinkled front. Now, try to think. I want to not take anything off here because it's really wrinkled right there, and I like that. So I'm going to pull it over. I want about a 1/2 inch all the way around 4 sides. Okay, so I'm going to bring this up. Try to get it as straight as I can. You know, just, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's the nice thing about this. Does not need to be perfect. Okay, now I'm going to take my fabric scissors, leave this like it is, come over here and snip it right there. Now we want to pull this off by tearing and pulling any excess strings off. Now let's go back to where we had it. If there's going to be any seams or folds in it, put them in the back, and they will straighten up pretty good. Okay, now, let's see, this is how I had it. I want the really grungier side toward the front. Now you can see that both sides, right and left, are pretty much the same size, right? And down here, I'm going to pull it up about the same size. So now I want to turn this and snip this other side right up here so that it leaves me with about a 1/2 inch. It's nothing more fun than tearing muslin, right? It just gives you such good results most of the time. Okay, so here we go. We've got this already. Now, what ends up on the inside is what you want to have the most wrinkles. And it'll smooth out some, just so you know. Okay, now this is going to be like the cover. I think if you wanted, you could put any fabric on here. And I think if you wanted, you could put fabric on the inside. And that's pretty much what I plan on doing. I am trying to think, do I want to glue this down? I glued the fabric down. I went through and did the whole thing, glued the fabric, didn't put it heavy so it wouldn't seep through my fabric. And this is what I ended up with right here. Now, you're going to take it to your machine and you're going to do a lot of fun, different things. But the first thing you're going to do is, after you've glued your fabric, and you want to leave a 1/2 inch all the way around your fabric so you can use your machine, you will just do a straight stitch. No tricks or anything, just straight stitch that on. At that point, with the glue and the stitch, this isn't going to move. And we don't want this to move, so that's why we're stitching it first. Now, then we're going to come back after stitching the fabric on. We're going to come back and stitch around the paper. And again, the paper doesn't want to be chewed up. That could be a problem if your machine chews things up. So you want to be careful. You want to make your stitch longer. Okay, not so long it gathers, but you know what I mean. I use black thread for this, but if you were doing a Christmas book and you wanted to do red or green or gold, whatever your preference, you do that, okay? But this is going to be just a straight seam so we can get it attached. Then we're going to come back and stitch around the outside. Now, I'm going to show you how I ended up stitching it, okay? So here is my finished cover. Now, I wanted it to look very messy, okay? So I started on the bottom left-hand side, which is the back. I did a straight stitch. I back stitched right there, not too much because you don't want to chew a hole in it. And then I changed it to zigzag quite a ways, then changed it to straight stitch. Got right here, kind of curved my fabric and back stitched, and then went forward, got to the corner, turned, kind of gone. I'll hold it up a little bit so you can see. Kind of get right here, then I kind of turn my needle and back up where I'm not straight, go crooked on purpose, and then zigzag all the way over here. And then I did a straight stitch to this corner. Did the same thing, went back and forth, zigzag, back and forth. Just use your own pattern, how you want it. So, you could do all zigzag if that's what you would like. Now, you can do this with any kind of paper. You can do it with fabric. You can do it with upholstery, whatever. But listen to that. This is what the inside looks like. Oh, and I recommend, if you want it more grungy, that you use ground espresso. Now, or you could use black soot. I wanted mine first one, I did it with Vintage Photo, which I feel like wasn't as dark as I would have liked it. Okay, you can see here. If you look at this and look at this, you can see the difference. Okay, at this point, you can fold this. Now, I would also tell you that if you want to stitch something on the front cover, I would do it at the same time you're trimming the whole book out, okay? The reason I didn't do it on mine was because all the digitals that I was using for Tracie Fox Love Junk Journals on Etsy, I was going to use so many different ones that I just kind of didn't want to settle on anything, couldn't decide. Plus, everything that Tracie does, or the majority of the things that she does on her digitals, they're inked and they're stitched. Now, I always ink them once they're cut because you'll get that white inside of the paper, or like I call it, the guts of the paper will be showing really well if you're wanting to go grungy, especially, okay? So, if you're going to go grungy, I'd go dark on paper, on tea stain paper, if I were you, okay? Like more like a coffee stain. All right, so this book is ready to start. Now, if you wanted to put fabric in here, you could do that across the whole thing, or just the same size as the other one, but make sure they're even, front and back, okay? So I'm going to set our cover to the side. This will be another book I do for some reason or another. I wanted to use Sari Silk as my tie and my closure on this, but I'm down to the ratty part of my cream color Sari Silk, so I used this trim, which is seam binding that's been tea stained. All right, so this is my book. Let me tie this. I didn't get the center tied here. And so, and I didn't get the name of this paper. Oh, I can't believe it. I had it downstairs to bring up here with me, and I wasn't going back down again. I'd been down those stairs so many times today. But no beads or anything for this book. It's too, I think it's kind of on the grungy side for me. But I like it. I like how it turned out. You can see my stitching here. I used tea stain muslin. I stitched the binding with a real dark gray that looked good with the blue and the black. And here's the back. I didn't put anything on the back. Just a little zigzagging. I will be putting this journal in my Etsy shop, should you be interested, but it won't go in until the video is released. Okay, so I used three I started out with to use was the construction cards, which are like the journaling cards and all of that Tracie and Artie Mace did together. And it's called Construction Cards. So you can purchase that on Etsy at Tracie's site, or you can go over and purchase on Artie Mae's site. So they're available in both places. Now, also, I used, you know, the one with all the tags. And I used the layered tags, mostly in this one. The layered tags, the field note tags, is the ones I used in here, mostly. And then also I used the floral number thing, that's what she called it, floral number thing. All of these are from Love Junk Journals on Etsy by Tracie Fox. Now, I liked that she had a lot of words. And I call them prompt words because they always prompt me to think about what I'm going to write. And I use some of them multiple times in the book, and that's okay. You can do whatever you want. So I layered, and as you can see, she had already stitched everything. I cut everything out, and I inked it well, and then I just started layering. And I loved this particular blue and kind of pink fuchsia color. Tracie usually doesn't do a lot of color, and I loved that she did in this, and I just thought, well, it's different. I'm going to use it. And so this is the cover. I'm going to start here at the top and just let you see here for a second. And here is the bottom. And this, like I said, measures 10 by almost 6. It's a little bigger than the last one I just made. Okay, so let's go inside. I did not get the name of all of these cool prints that's in the book. Let me show you. Well, I'll show you as we get to them. But you can go on Tracie's Etsy site and find these. And if I can find them, I'll link them below the video also. How's that? I'll write the names of the digitals I used below the video. And I'll link Tracie's store. And I'll link Lynette's Cheaply Chic. So you can go and look at her video on how to make the envelopes. All right. So I use the journaling cards as pockets on the front inside and the back inside. So I'm going to show you here. So back and front. And I used a prompt word on each pocket. But also when you pull the tags out, I layered and popped things up. I actually, Tracie had put some black paper clips on some of the images like these clips, but paper clips as well. I went ahead and added an actual paper clip. And I put treasure on the back of this tag so you can be prompt to write about treasures if you want. I didn't prompt all of the back tags, but some of them. Right here, I just felt like this spot needed something, so I put a little journaling card and layered a couple things and put a couple little cards. I did it here and I did it back here. And they blend very well, so, you know, you'll have to watch for that. And on this back page, I put the word treasure, and I also popped up this tag and added a paper clip. It gives more dimension. And this one says gratitude right here. It also says gratitude on the other side. So you just kind of have to watch for the different prompts. So that's the inside and back cover. Now here we go. As you notice, your digitals don't print very, you know, as big as this journal is. And I thought, oh man, well, I'm not going to change it now. I'll figure out a way. So I got some mixed media paper, which is cardstock that just has that design of mixed media and had the right colors. And I decided to go ahead and put that in. And it looks really good. I zigzagged just the tops. I didn't zigzag the sides. And as you can see, it blends really nicely. Now, this is another, that's the same cardstock. You flip it over. And I made out of the digital, I printed some on cardstock and I did a side tuck, layered it with a cream burlap and a prompt word of reflections. This one says hopeful. I did it on the floral number thingies, things that Tracie made, the flashcards, and this one, I popped up this little critter here and put hopeful. And I thought it went well in this side pocket. Tea stain, coffee stained paper. My grungier paper. So what I did is I folded the paper around this blue, okay? And then it left this. And I thought, I want to fold this paper in on itself. But if you look on the other side of this cardstock right here, this cardstock, if you look inside, you'll see that same 2 pages is right here. And it gives you the appearance that it's 1 page. Okay? This does too. See? So this page right here was folded and is in the second half of the signature. This one was folded the opposite direction in on itself, and it's over here. I know. It looks cool because it looks like it's the whole page, but indeed it's 2 half pages. So on the second cardstock, I stitched the top as well. And I did a pocket. This says Serenity, and I just did, and I'm just popping up little things that aren't going to take a lot of room in the book. And I did the same thing with the tags. I did her field note tags, and like here, this wasn't on there. I added a paper clip, and I layered a couple of things, put the word hopeful, and put it in my pocket. I did stitch around my pockets. I recommend that you stitch around all 4 sides. I think I would have liked that part better. And here is a smaller pocket here, and I layered this up, and I put the word stillness. And this is one of the flashcards and one of the butterflies. I think that turned out cute. And then a paper clip. And then I put the word right here that says endeavor. Okay. All right. Some of the pockets got stitched all the way around. There was only a couple I didn't. Tea stain paper. Did the same thing here that I did on the others. Here is another pocket that I layered that says hopeful. This music journaling card says dignity. And I added this strip of numbers. I inked it. I flipped it over and felt like it needed a little pocket. So I added a pocket with some 1800s vintage music sheet and layered this here. And then I just did a little journaling card that I layered with music sheet and a little ticket. And then Serenity on the back. And here is another little tag that has rounded corners. That's Tracie's. And I just put the music sheet and put the word grateful. I like the way that turned out. I like floating pockets. And so I decided I wanted to use this music sheet because it was part of one of the kits. And I like the way it ended up. Okay, and here we go. On the center, in the center, you have all these pages, tea stain pages, and part of the same kit. I'm going to show you tea stained. So when you do like I've done and you have multiple heights, you have to really be careful when you bind it and make sure that they don't slip up and down. So really clip them. Here I took some mixed media paper because this was so tall I couldn't use a kit. And I just zigzagged down the back side, straight stitched around the other part, and glued the top and bottom and the left side to the page. Made a side pocket. And then here we have a layered tag with a paper clip. It says Principal. And then it just slides right in here. So you can slide anything in these little pockets that you want. These are just ideas that I came up with where I could use the kit. Now right here is a cigarette tea card. It says Serenity, but I put it on the cream color muslin, burlap. Tea stained, coffee stained paper. We already looked at those. We're going to flip to this other side. I wanted them both to be on this side because it was so white, even after inking, that I just felt like it would look better with something. So I did another pocket with a different piece of paper. Did the same thing with a tea card and coffee card. It says Reflections, zigzag, glued top and side. And here is another layered tag. Okay, it says Reflections right there. Now we're going to flip on here. There are a lot of these pages. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of different colors. And so I just picked 4 or 5 and left it at that. Grungy tea stained, coffee stained paper. Layered this. It says Grateful. Layered tag, the little butterfly, says Honesty, and a paper clip. So you can use your imagination on how to use the tags. I did the same thing here. I layered, and then I took a 2-layered tag, and I added this 3rd tag right here. I did not pop it up, but I added this little black clip and this little ruler that came in the kit and popped up this small tag all the way to the left. Put the word Grateful. I like the way it turned out, and it goes right here. So I did use this color to do the back of the digitals. I don't like to leave the digitals white anymore on the back. They just look better when they kind of go along with the tea stain paper. Side pocket says Treasure, layered the burlap and the little flower, and just used one of the flashcards that had a butterfly and a bee on it, and then just popped up this circle. It says Stillness. You can journal on the back. On this pocket, I just slanted it on my trimmer. I just kind of slanted it at an angle, and then I just cut the top, cut the side. I don't glue this top one down. See, it doesn't glue down, but the one down here I do. So you have to keep your tag or whatever the size of the inside of the pocket, but you could bring it over further if you wanted. Okay, and here is the back of the journal. It is made a lot like a traveler's notebook. I wouldn't call it a traveler's notebook. I don't feel like it is. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. I hope you learned something new. And go check out Lynette's envelope technique. I got my idea from her. Credit where credit is due. Okay, and again, I couldn't get the glue sticks to hold, so I used glue, very light amount. And you definitely want to have a sewing machine to do this project, I feel like, for the cover. You could try gluing it and do a faux stitch or whatever, but I don't know how it would hold it together, is what I'm saying. So I hope you enjoyed the video today. I hope you'll run over and check out Tracie's Digitals on Etsy. Type the word Love Junk Journals. It's all one word. Don't use any spaces. And look for Tracie Fox. All right, guys. Go get busy making junk journals. You might even check out the Foxy Crafters channel on Facebook. It's a great place to go and see a lot of different works of art. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.